Welcome to It's Your Wealthy podcast edition. I'm certified financial planner David Somerville. I'm here with Jason Pollock. Jason, good evening. How are you?
Great. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's March. I can
golf
see,
season.
I can feel.
Yeah.
Right.
It's changed. The weather has changed.
We got to get we got Cody Miller here as well. So Cody, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
My golfing professional coach.
Nice.
Well, I'm not the one with the hole-in-one, so let's be careful about
that is true. But you were with me today. I got the hole-in-one, right?
Lucky. I'm lucky for everybody but me.
It was just a beautiful, easy 3-iron,
no problem.
207 yards, up the hill, over the mound, down the slope. Nothing but bucket, right?
Nothing but net. Yeah.
Nothing but bucket. But maybe, maybe this year it'll be your year for the hole-in-one club, right?
Yeah.
But we have a great show planned today, folks. We're going to talk about retiring right. So years ago, Jason and I did a radio show, and we were doing the radio show, and we were getting ready to go live, and we were talking about retirement. And I said to Jason, what's the title of the show? And Jason's like, I don't know how to retire. And we're kind of flipping back and forth some ideas. And I said, well, there's only two ways to retire. There's the retire right way, and there's the retire wrong way. And what we've realized is that there are three big decisions that you're going to make in your life. These are the three big decisions that could really impact your success or failure. Decision number one, who am I going to marry? That's a big one. Yep. Pick right, good. Pick wrong, maybe not so good for your finances, right? Decision number two is going to be, how many kids am I going to have? Is it going to be 1, 2, 3, 4? Again, 2's easy. 3. You had 3.
Yeah.
You got 2. So big decision is who are we going to marry? How many kids are we going to have? And then the third big decision is going to be how do we do this retirement thing? And my point with this show is that we had a guy come in the office a few weeks ago, and he's with another advisor at the bank, but he wanted to get a financial plan for retirement. And we got talking, and the person he dealt with was just kind of managing some of his investments and wasn't really doing any planning for retirement. So we sat down and we had a conversation. But Cody, we've come up with really 6 critical areas that you got to think about. So when you make this big decision entering retirement, there's a number of decisions that go along with it. And the first one, Cody, you can get into it with us.
Yeah, one of the first things we have to do is identify, how long you're going to live post-retirement. So, of course, one of the things we keep hearing about now is that Canadians are living longer. We're retiring at the same age we've retired, but we're living much longer than we used to. And so one of the key things we have to do is sort of be honest and assess that mortality risk. So we start looking at things like understanding that life expectancy through the lens of family history, your current health conditions, your lifestyle, right? So what types of things are you doing to take care of yourself? And then when we get an idea of what that looks like, then we can start to put in the rest of the pieces of the puzzle. But that's the first thing we've really got to do with the client.
Yeah, because if you sit here, if you're retiring at 60 years old and you're running marathons every year and you're in perfect health, that person could see, potential, life expectancy of 100, right?
Yeah.
You're 70, you've worked hard, lots of stress, maybe you've gained some weight in the wrong areas, you've had some health conditions. So, and again, like the 60-year-old maybe can't go on this crazy spending spree, and the 70-year-old maybe has the ability to spend more money than he really maybe even needs to, Jason.
Yeah, and we talk to our clients a lot about that. You could potentially be in retirement just as long as you have been working. So like you said, a 60-year-old might live to 100. That's 40 years that you need to have enough money so that you don't run out. So what's the accumulation look like? And also one of the things is, what does life look like in retirement? So there's so many factors about what does life look like. You now have 1,000 hours a year to do what? What is it you want to do? What's your lifestyle look like? Do you want to play golf? Do you want to travel? Do you want to, buy an RV and drive around? So there's so many different things. How about inflation? How does inflation affect your income? A couple of years ago, it wasn't that long ago, but a few years ago, we were talking inflation over 5%, 5 to 8%. If you're not making 5 to 8% on your portfolio, the power of your money you're losing the power of your money. What about a budget? Again, you've got a finite amount of money now. What are you going to spend it on? Are you going to, again, spend it on retirement, or are you going to spend it on golf, or what are the things that you need to look for? What's your life look like? You have to review your debt obligations. You have to talk about your mortgage. This is a big thing that we see a lot these days, is people are going into retirement with debt, and that's something that's relatively new. Normally it was you pay off your mortgage in your early 60s, late 50s, and then you don't have that obligation. But again, there's all kinds of different things. What does retirement actually look like?
And speaking of lifestyle and retirement is, do you want to spend winters in Florida versus Mexico versus Costa Rica versus somewhere, maybe it's Portugal, where your dollar goes a lot further. So, it's not just the simple, I'm going to retire and I'm going to start drawing out 4,000. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And, when you're building a new home, you've got this design, you've got the architect, you've got, where do I put that? So same thing happens in the financial world. The next key thing here in this retire right planning mode is, generating the income you need in retirement. And again, I'm always pleasantly surprised when somebody comes in to a meeting on retirement and says, I know what I make now and what I spend, and this is a budget I'm going to have going forward. So if I do retire in 6 months, I was making $100,000 a year, spending 50. I'm going to make now 50 and spend 40. So we can work around a budget. One of the big things, Jason and Cody, is, when do I take my CPP? Do I take it early? Do I take it later? Do I defer it? Again, that's a personal decision, but what goes into that is, how's your health? What's the break-even point? If you take it at 60, the break-even point is like, 75 maybe, where if you're going to live beyond 75, might be better off to defer it. You're going to have workplace pensions coming over. How's that going to work? What about clawbacks? People have other assets. They've got big investments. They're going to get their old age pension one day, but they've got such big assets in other areas. Maybe it's real estate and rental properties. You've got that concern when it comes to generating income. Income efficiency in your investments, that's critical. Income splitting with your spouse, how does that work? You look at all the pension credits. And of course, one of the big decisions is, you may have some unused RSP room. And if you're going to make a contribution, and if you're going to retire, it's 2026 right now, but let's say you're going to retire at the end of 2026, then we may want to make that big RSP contribution. So again, a lot of things go into those decisions. It's just not, the simple, can I just retire and take an income, right?
Well, I think a lot of people are so concerned about building up what they need to be able to retire, right? They're so focused on generating a portfolio that's going to get them into retirement. Not a lot of people think about, once you get into retirement, this is one of the things you've taught me very well, Dave, is decumulating that money. So what's the decumulation strategy? And that's a concept I don't hear a lot of people talking about, is you've made it to retirement, you've been successful, now you're here. How are you going to draw those income sources in the most efficient way? Yeah.
And the other big thing too is that, is the money I'm drawing out, do I have these hobbies and adventures I want to do, but now I'm going to draw down the capital too quick. We had a guy years ago, he retired, had his GM pension, I'll never forget this, and then he got the buyout of $100,000. And he wanted a certain income, and I said to him, not a problem, but you got to live on your pension from GM, and the $100,000, we'll need that to help to supplement your retirement. Well, guess what? The first month he retires, he calls me and he says, my wife wants a new kitchen. Can I pull money out of my $100,000? And I said, you can, but we were budgeting that $100,000 to be an income producing asset. Yeah. 3 months later, my roof goes. 4 months later, my kid's getting married. And it was funny, right? Because by about year 2 or 3, his income went down because this money was gone. He calls me, he says, what happened to my $1,000 a month payment? I said, what happened to it was your wife got a new kitchen, you got a new roof, and your kid got married, right? So again, when you have these assets, you've got to be careful it's not found money. Yeah. Like, these are needed for things you're going to need in the future, right?
Well, and the other thing we need to do with that money is start to talk about how your portfolio changes into retirement, right? So when we think about building that retirement portfolio, do a reanalysis of your risk, right? So now you've made it to retirement, you've got retirement years, but you can't be as risky with that money as you have been maybe leading up to those years, right? And so then how do we structure the income from the sources that you have? What are your investment choices in retirement going to be? And can we reduce any investment leverage that you have? Because of course, now you've built up this nest egg. It's got to last you, and we want to make sure we're investing in a sustainable, productive way.
Yeah, and just another quick point here about a client is we had a client years ago, had about $1 million, and when we ran all the financial planning for him, it was going to last him till age 100, not a problem. But guess what? About a year into it, his payment went up. He wanted to take it from $6,000 to maybe $8,000 or $9,000, and he wanted some lump sums. And I said, that's fine, but look what it does long term, right? So if we do that, you're either going to run out of money a lot earlier than you were projecting, or we're going to have to take your 3 or 4% rate of return assumption and take you from a more moderate, lower risk portfolio to more of a balanced portfolio. I said, so I've got to find 2% a year of additional income return to keep your numbers online. So again, the portfolio could change depending on your lifestyle.
Yeah, and one of the things that it might change, one of the reasons why it might change is something like a healthcare scare, and that's one of the other things that we talk about with this Retire Right program is we incorporate it into the estate planning and preservation side of it. Is what happens if you need to go into long-term care, or what happens if there's a health scare and you have to go and get some treatment that might cost $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, or a new pill that costs X amount of dollars. Those things can dramatically affect your income and how you retire. And the other thing is similar to that is about legacy. Is do you want to die with zero? We talk about it a lot. Or do you want to leave the kids? Do you want to leave some charity? Do you want to have a legacy of providing to a church or a different cause, or again your kids? So again, these are all the things that we talk about when it comes to estate planning and preservation.
Well, when you think about preservation, again, I've had the full spectrum here. I've had one client that came in and said, if I die with any money in my account, you didn't do your job.
Right.
And the other one says that nothing, I have $1 million, I need it to leave $1 million to my kids. So you get one parent that wants to leave all of it to their kid.
There's no right or wrong.
If not more, right?
Yeah.
And you get one that says, and again, he was being, I think, facetious about that. But but again, what is it you do want, right? So it's all about individual needs and desires. The final thing here when it comes to retiring right or retiring wrong is your legal planning. And I'm hoping that most people do this, but, are your wills up to date? Powers of attorney up to date? Is there a trust in place at some point because maybe you've got a business? Is there a child that has to be taken care of? That's a big deal. And I've got probably a half dozen clients that have disabled kids that are going to outlive them. And, the question around the financial plan is, or the retirement plan is, what do I do with my child, and who's going to take care of him or her? And of course, there's those out there that have these business interests. And again, they've got assets and properties and buildings, and is that going to be succession to the kids as well? So again, getting into that final phase, going back to it, 3 big decisions in your life. 1 is who are you going to marry? 2, how many kids? 3 is how does this whole thing work in retirement? This is a big deal, and our advice is that if you're out there right now, make sure you're having this conversation with whoever you do business with, your advisor, your financial planner, whatever it may be, your investment person. But we're finding right now, guys, that a lot of people, a lot of institutions that do what we do, they're not having these conversations. They're just basically they're holding your money, they're doing some transactions, and that's not what people need at a later stage in life.
And like Cody said, they're focused on accumulation and not decumulation. It's a different strategy. There's different risk analysis that you have to do. So it's important to do both.
Excellent. Great stuff. Cody Miller, thanks again for coming in. Jason Pollock, really appreciate it.
Always good.
Again, for those out there, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on the Apple Network, on the podcast app. Feel free to like us, to share us, and to let your friends and family know who are retiring that this is a good episode to listen to, and just make sure that all the things get checked. And again, there's only 2 ways to retire. There's the retire right way, and there's the retire wrong way. But we'll see you all next month. Have a great month.